Let's start with Dustin. Can you just tell us about who you are and what you do for WHE?
Yes, so my name is Dustin Murray, and I'm education editor at WHE, and I'm a school teacher. I teach 7th and 8th grade American history and ancient world history. So
And where do you teach?
I teach in Carbon Hill, Alabama.
All right.
It is in the middle of absolute nowhere, and I love it. So
What is it that you love so much about teaching history?
I love my students first. Each of them are unique. They come from different backgrounds, and it's an absolute honor to get to teach every one of them and play some role in their lives. So I had wonderful teachers along the way that did that for me. So it's really cool getting to do that for them.
Absolutely, yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, I think that's what a lot of teachers might say about their students, but for you, and you're teaching history, right?
Yeah.
What is it about history that fascinates you and that made you want to be a teacher in history?
So history offers as a content the opportunity to teach students to think deeper and broader and broader, really. And so we get to forge critical thinking in this content and examine issues from various perspectives. And that's a life skill. So it's something that they can use every day. They may not necessarily know or need to know a name or a date of some event, but just the process of thinking clearer is something that, I mean, that's it translates to whether you're a husband or a wife or a father or mother, and no matter what we do. So it's a life skill.
Right, right, yeah. Do you feel like sort of history is more important than ever because across the world, and I know in the United States as well, school budgets are getting cut, and it's usually like the humanities and social studies that are losing the money and the
It
teachers,
is.
right? So how do you feel about that? Do you think that history should actually be something that is more important actually now than before?
Yes, and like trying to cultivate an atmosphere not only in the classroom, but I think in our county, in our state, nation, world, where people value the content. It's always relevant, and it's
Mm-hmm.
always been relevant.
Right.
And so now, I think we find ourselves in a place where we can really learn to examine. In examining the past, we can learn to think through our current issues better and maybe more wholesome and from unique perspectives. And history offers that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter what era you're studying, it's always relevant.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah,
absolutely agree.
right.
Um, how did you find World History Encyclopedia? How did you first encounter it before you joined our team?
This is an awesome question. So
Thank you.
I was teaching, and I found myself just you know wanting to go beyond the textbook and looking for sites that were reliable, looking for sites that were um, deep as well and rich in the content. And I ran across ancient history encyclopedia, and so it was really when you guys first started. I found that resource, and then automatically just latched onto it, and my kids latched onto it because it came in digestible sizes for them to be able to take in a class period, and the research was well done. All the articles were well written, and so we were able to take that in and incorporate it into lesson plans consistently. And
Hmm.
so it became one of my just go-to sites for information that went way beyond the textbook.
Right.
And that was something we want to do because a lot of times, especially in history, the way your pacing guides are written, it's so easy to go a mile wide and an inch deep with your content, and WHE offers both. It goes broad and deep, and that's something that facilitates really great dialogue in a classroom.
Right, I see.
So,
And so how do you use it in the classroom? Do you essentially take extracts, or do you assign this as homework reading, or do you read it in class and then discuss it? Like, how do you incorporate WHE in your classroom?
that's another good question. So it's I don't know, multifaceted, I guess.
Yeah.
So there are days where they need to research, and it's a great research tool. There are days where we want to have group dialogue, and we can chunk that content in each of those articles into kind of bite-sized bits where we can read a section, talk about it, assign it within groups, let them talk about it, and it's really once they take that learning in their own hands that you see the value of history as a whole kind of take shape, and they're learning to ask questions, and they're learning to speak academically, and like each of the articles offers that. Definitions offer that. Simeon's maps have become one of, I think, the most beneficial things that I'm able to take on in the classroom.
Right.
Because just his maps are so detailed and unique, and kudos to him, because the students can take that map and we can have them just fire away questions.
Right.
And as they fire away questions, like the rest of the site offers the opportunity to be able to dig into the research, and they start to answer their own questions and find out how to do that. And
Right. So sometimes you start with a map and then have the
100%.
students essentially analyze the map and try to figure out what was going on, and then they sometimes can't answer that, and then they go out and research. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because the ancient maps look so different than your modern map of Europe. So, or Asia or wherever. And so we may take like a current map and then give them an ancient map and let them discover why. Like, how does that happen?
Right.
What causes that change? Is there any continuity? And so as they discover those things, they really do learn how to be lifelong learners.
Right.
I think, to an extent.
Yeah, so that's really important, of course.
Yes.
And so at WHE, what do you do?
So right now, I have been focusing most of my efforts on this monthly newsletter for teachers, and the goal is, one, to encourage our history teachers. Like, it is so easy, especially with I think a lot of the stuff going on today, for them to get discouraged and feel like they have to tiptoe around issues, and that can have a lot of wear and tear on the teacher. And so my first goal is to encourage them in the process. Just keep going, it's worth it. Don't give up. A lot of teachers have left the profession, and I think it's lovely to get the opportunity to reach that many history teachers in just an email,
Right.
and it's wild. And then within that email, within that newsletter, put resources in front of them that they can, one, use immediately, whether it's through bell ringers or whether it's through closing of lessons, but also we've started a monthly project where teachers can take that on and take that learning just to such a deeper level than they might think to otherwise. And so it's all to help them. And that's an honor as well, just having that opportunity to be an aid to my colleagues across the world. So that's been one of the most beautiful parts of the process. But as we work on lesson plans and get collections out with that, I think it's going to be now immediately, but within 10, 15, 20, who knows, maybe the kind of place that a teacher could go and just discover everything they need for that content. And I think that the horizon is wonderful and beautiful.
Yeah, that's kind of where we want to go, right? We want to make it so that World History Encyclopedia is like the one-stop shop. If people think about history and they're like, oh, I wonder this or that, it's like, just go straight there, and Same for teachers, you know, to
Yes.
look for inspiration to primary sources as well. And we're here in Noyers in Burgundy in France, and we've visited various sites, medieval castle. We've been to like an ancient fountain yesterday. Today we're gonna go to a 18th century sort of chateau. So, what are your impressions about traveling to this region?
It is mind-blowing to me. So I'm coming from the United States, and everything here is at least triple as old, and it's like the things that I have taught for 15 years
Mm-hmm.
are in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
and for me it's surreal, just seeing it.
Right.
It it's a whole nother level interacting with it. And some of, whether it's the cathedrals we've been able to go to, the fountains that we've seen, the age and consistency of this region, it is, everywhere we go is so picturesque. And it could be on a magazine. Like even sitting here, it's, 15 years ago I would not have expected, or this was never in my mind's eye to that I would ever even have the opportunity to come here. So one, I'm grateful. I'm very grateful to be here. But the age of everything, like you're getting to see medieval ruins.
Right.
And these are things that I can only have dreamt of seeing a year ago even. And so here we are, and everywhere is beautiful. Like we got to take a kayak tour down the river today, and you're kayaking past castles. And to me, it was just kind of a moment to where I had to sit back and just enjoy it for a minute and appreciate the beauty and the age of the thing. So
it's true. I mean, you find beauty everywhere in the world, in nature and in cities. But I think particularly in Europe, and particularly in Central Europe here, there's just so much history, so concentrated, right? That obviously everywhere in the world has a ton of history, but the concentration of historical sites is really dense here, right?
It is wild. Like you're driving through the countryside, and there's just castles, like every 10 minutes, and it's an unbelievable experience.
Do you feel that having visited certain places will influence your teaching?
100%. So at night when I go up to the room, I'm already putting together a slideshow for my students, already putting together some lessons that when I take it home, just the picture not coming from a textbook, but from my camera.
Right.
Like, and the experience of interacting with the history and having been there in its presence takes on a whole new feel. And I think it'll be a more intimate experience in the classroom when you can say, hey, I've been here, this is real. Because for a student, they may sit back and it's just pictures on a page, and it's a place that they can't envision visiting. And especially in my area, I'm hoping that this will just create in them like this urge to go and just see the world and
explore,
have new experiences and explore an adventure. And that's something that for me as a teacher, like when I have students that get to go and do these things, it utterly makes me so happy in my heart because I see them getting to actually experience the world in a very new way.
No, that's excellent. Yeah. Is there anything you want to tell our audience, maybe the readers of the newsletter or a general audience, about, history, teaching, anything really?
So one, the team here at WHE is an amazing group of people, and they are creating resources that are useful, practical, dependable, reliable, and I would encourage everyone to get their feet wet with those resources. I think that's important because we need that. Like, we need a trustworthy site that we can go to. For history teachers, I would just encourage them to plow the depths of our content. Our students need it, and they need that teacher on the front line. I know education goes beyond just the content, and it goes to the heart of the student. And as history teachers, we have the opportunity to kind of bridge the mind and the heart, and it's not really an either or, it's a both and they're beautiful things in world history to study and to learn from, and at the same time we get to deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Right.
And find use of it all. And so I would encourage not just teachers but students to take that learning and take the initiative to become lifelong learners, so that 20 years down the road, they're the kind of thinker and they're just the kind of person that just makes the world a better place. And I think our content, we have so many people and events to learn from to make us better, and I think history as a content just offers that to us.